everyone. This is Nathan Lawson, here with a theory about ancient Egypt and ancient Rome. Now, if you're here, then you likely agree with me that Egypt had some sort of extraterrestrial aid. I mean, I don't even understand why it's a controversial stance to have. The pyramids are clear for anyone to see. There's no way they could have built that without help. However, what I looked at the conversation is I believe that some of the help and the technology they received from the beings they referred to as gods, was left behind and was later adapted by the Romans, who similarly used it to great effect. Now, first, I should probably talk a bit about Egyptian mythology, like what they believe. Egyptian religion was quite heliocentric. They worship, their chief god was Ra, like later combined with another god, Amun, and ultimately subsumed by belief in Aten, the sun itself. And one of the most prominent myths in Egyptian teaching is Ra's daily trips across the sky in the sun. He is physically described as piloting the sun. And naturally they describe it as a boat, but it's not that a term for spacecraft back then. So, furthermore, if you actually look at how they interpreted you can see shooting beams down, taking offerings up, aligns with what we could associate with UFOs. So it's what I'm getting from this is that the Egyptians arrived in a spherical ship, that resembled, at least in some extent, the sun, like enough so that it was assumed to be the sun. And, different beings piloted the ship at various points, leading to the various gods, and because the sun was the one thing that was consistent, no matter what passengers were piloting it, the sun itself became the center of worship. And, of course, the aliens, left, millennia ago, and leaving the Egyptians to their own devices, they gradually fell, and eventually, they were, a lot of their territory was taken over by the Romans. And there I believe is where they found a piece of Egyptian technology. This is a primitive steam engine. It was discovered by the scholar and engineer Hero of Alexandria in Rome-controlled Egypt. He termed it an aeolipile, which, based off my translation, is derived from two words: pili, which refers to ball, and alium, a term for the other. So put that together and you get an other ball, or an otherworldly ball, which aligns with descriptions of the sun. It's spherical, but it's also ways away, and is often has divine implications, so it's quite otherworldly. And if you look at it, it's not so also this aeolipile is a sphere. Now I know that alone, saying that it's based on the sun just because it's round is a bit much, but consider that when it's running, those little spigots would be letting off steam, which would be at least evocative of the rays that Aten is shown to be giving off. And now this particular model was not used as an engine to power anything. It was largely ceremonial. I can tell this just if you look at the days supporting it. It's almost quite literally on a pedestal. And Hero even described it at one point as a, quote, temple wonder. So it's likely that this was, in Egyptian temples as a physical representation of the sun, using the technology the sun granted to them, be the steam engine. And so Hero took the steam engine and brought it back to Rome with him. And what happened when he brought the steam engine with him? Well, let's look at Rome. I personally like to use the Colosseum as my go-to example, because the Colosseum is frankly astonishing. Like the speed at which it's alleged to have been built is not possible with human hands alone. They would have needed to carry all the stone and all like everything they used to build at great distances. They would have needed some sort of heavy machinery to construct a multi-story structure. And most importantly, the Colosseum had a very elaborate plumbing system. It could flood to facilitate mock sea battles, and then drain itself out to have a gladiator duel later in the day. And so it was my belief that this was achieved with steam-powered pumps. Unfortunately, I cannot verify this myself. I attempted to explore the Colosseum, but I was told I could not examine the area underneath it, which, if anything, just shows maybe he has something to hide. And even more obvious sign is the waterways that dot Italy to this day. They used to be filled with water. They're all dried out now. But they used to be filled with water, and you could put a steam-powered craft, like a steamboat, into the waterway and, use it to carry supplies, send messages, just connect the region, almost like a railway. And it's my belief that this is how Rome was, so expansive. If you had this massive network, that would naturally give you an edge over other empires, and also just allow them to keep their frankly unreasonable size in check to an extent. And of course, naturally, with all these massive radical transformations, that would also lead to some sort of cultural impact, which can be seen with the rise Sol Invictus, Unconquered Sun. Consider that this whole thing is based off the Aeolipile, a representation of the sun god. It's logical to assume that you could interpret it as a gift from the sun. And if the sun was bestowed on the Romans with such a wonderful gift, then maybe they should start worshipping it. So there was the cult of Sol Invictus became gradually larger, ultimately vied for prominence against the pre-existing gods, and we can just see, there's artwork of it. And if you even look at the classical Roman shield, I'm not going to say it's a 1-to-1 with the sun, there might be more aspects to it, but at least to me, that radial design, those arrows, they kind of remind me of the rays of light coming off of Aten. I think there's a link there. And so, done all this, conclude that there is a definite chain from the ancient astronauts to the Egyptians to the Romans through cultural diffusion. Which, in a way, you could say that ancient Egypt had quite the effect on ancient Rome. Like, if it weren't for one, there wouldn't even be the other, or I guess at least the extraterrestrial visitors came to one. Naturally, this is still something I'm exploring myself. There are more ramifications of this dimension to explore. And moreover, I doubt I only found the one invention. I'm sure the more I dig, the more ancient Egyptian inventions I'll find. And Here are the sources I used. They're all trustworthy. No snooty-nosed professors here trying to tell you the world's round or something. And so I believe that is most everything. Have a nice day. Don't listen to scientists. And always keep your eyes open. Thanks for watching.